Now that we have our stripe on our tank, let's clear coat this thing. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. Just giving it one wipe down with water and the single drop of mild soap. I just use dish soap. We just don't want any dust on here. So instructions on the clear coat are the same as they are for the paint essentially. Minimum temperature 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius. I'm right there early in the morning here. I mean, we'll have a 65 degree day here, sorry for you folks up north. But what I've done is waited over 48 hours from when I did that pinstripe. Because you got to do layers within an hour or over 48 hours. So not at an hour and a half or at 12 hours or 24 hours. You got to be on either end of that. And that's how you're going to get the best adhesion. We've sanded the entire white color layer. We have then sprayed on the pinstripe, which is a second color layer. But I have not sanded that. All I've done is kept that really clean. You just saw me wipe that down. And because I'm at 85% humidity this morning and at 50 degrees, so I'm literally at the limits of what this paint could do, I'm going to be giving a little bit more time between layers. Rather than my usual 12 minutes or so, I'll probably go more like 20, maybe up to a half hour. But the temperature is going to rise here pretty fast. The sun's coming up, and once the sun is out here in Southern California, temps get pleasant pronto. More so than any other type of paint, go very thin with clear coat. You can get runs with this so easy. Thin, thin, thin. You will get it covered with your multiple layers. Don't try to lay down a thick layer of clear coat. Don't do it with any spray paint, but really with this. And then stay organized in your mind because it's hard to see where you've been. Another thing I have to do here in the shop today is make room for a new tool. I finally took the plunge after a lot of debate with myself and have bought a motorcycle lift, which I am told is going to be delivered tomorrow, so I need to prepare space for this. I've got the V-Strom in here, I've got this frame, which of course will be on the lift, so in a way, I think it's going to work out fine for me. I just got to get a little bit better about this mess over here, and we'll see. I'm hoping I don't regret the huge footprint of this tool, but it is something that I will continue to use for years because I'm not going to be done with bikes in any time soon. So I did it. Well, I'm slowly getting there. Got a little bit more space carved out. I really need a shelf. Anyways, These I'm excited to get going on. I mean, how cool is that? Old spoke, they're heavy, no doubt, but they look great. 2 wheels. I mean, this right here is what makes motorcycling so fun and what makes it spiritual. Well, okay, let's talk about that. Why is motorcycling, let me put this over here. Why is motorcycling so, touch us so deep and hook us, addict us, if you want to look at it a little negatively, I think. It addicts us the way like a religion can be an addiction. So is that such a bad thing? So, motorcycling and spirituality. There are things in life that you can't describe accurately with words. Try to verbally describe the birth of your child. Try to describe the night sky and all those galaxies and stars. You know, I'm talking about the sky you see when you get out of the city and don't have all the light pollution and you're looking up at that universe. You know, try to put that feeling that you have when you're really in a state of wonder about that into words. Even a sunset and the ocean and the tides, and you know, the universe is full of this. Existence and life is full of examples of experiences that we have because we're alive that we can't adequately put into words. A sneeze even, I mean, try to describe how it feels to sneeze. I don't know, there's tons of examples. Motorcycling gives you that feeling, one of those feelings that is beyond words. Some people say it's like flying. Well, okay, but it's different than flying. And flying's great too. I'm sure every pilot out there who's watching, if there are any, would say, yeah, I get that. Surfing is probably the same. I used to play hockey when I was younger, and skating gives you that feeling. Motorcycling is that way, and that's why I think we get so hooked on it, because it's a wonderful feeling. And unless you try it, you know, for those people, there's a lot of people that are very afraid of motorcycling. But when you're a young boy or a young girl and you first get on 2 wheels and start riding, it grips you, and it's that feeling. It's almost a natural high. So I don't know, enough about that. That's why I think motorcycling is so cool for human beings. Been about a half hour. We'll go another half hour. And along similar lines to why motorcycling is spiritual, another word that gets used with motorcycling a lot is addiction. And is it an addiction? I think it can be sometimes. My idea of what is an addiction, frankly, I think you can be addicted to just about anything or any activity. And what makes it a hobby or something you just like to do and crosses that line to addiction is when it begins to have negative impacts on your life in some way, shape, or form. So in theory, can motorcycling do that? Yeah. If you're spending money on motorcycles before taking care of other necessities in your life, family, your own health, your future savings, that kind of thing, then that's probably a problem. And if you're buying, 18 motorcycles and you're not a serious collector, but you're trying to tell yourself you're a collector, I don't know, there's places this can go. Anything can be an addiction. Gambling's fun, but we know it ruins lives. At some point, some people lose control. Sex, that can be an addiction. Something we have to do to be a race, to be a species. Nothing more natural, but we can take that too far. And heck, there's industries set up around addictions. Food addictions, sugar, carbohydrates, the list goes on. And we can get to a point where things that are perfectly fine, perfectly normal, perfectly wonderful in many ways, we can go too far. And so yeah, motorcycling I think can be an addiction, but I don't necessarily think it's always an accurate word for the lifestyle of motorcycling. For those of us that enjoy it and keep it reined in within reason and don't have anything but a positive experience in our lives with it, hey, that's what the goal is. And not to the point where we're trading other wonderful things in our lives, other wonderful experiences that we should be having, like family, friends, sense of community, that kind of thing. And then of course the sense of community, motorcycling often brings that. While it is a solo, solitary experience a lot of times, we come together around it quite often. Group rides, meet you at this coffee shop, stuff like that. So anyways, addiction and motorcycling, some thoughts. Sorry, a little change of clothes here. I gotta go somewhere and I'm trying to cram this in, but third coat, final. Trying to keep my arms steady and use my legs so I'm like a robotic arm and maintain that distance about 8 to 10 inches, but sometimes I feel the breeze kick up and I tighten it up when I feel that. Okay, so one other piece that I want to complete here as I'm working on my tank is the fuel cap cover that comes on these GS models, and I had to take this off for striping so that it matched the, continued the line up the tank all the way to the front, and this took a little bit of work. I had to measure this off in the same way, but we've got some curving and undulation here, and so as you're taping down around those, this frog tape is pretty forgiving. It'll keep a straight line even as you're dipping into a valley a little bit. So to do that, it actually has to stretch a little bit, but there's tension there, and I noticed when I walked away from it for a little bit and came back, it kind of popped up again a little bit. So obviously wherever it pops up just slightly, then the paint can sneak underneath and you're not going to get that clean line. So before we paint it here, I am going to press extremely hard in those areas. The other thing I've had to do, and I'll show you this close up, is I've had to crease the frog tape in places to maintain a straight line, and where it's creased, you want to make sure you really press that crease together, because if there's any space underneath the fold or crease, paint can sneak under there and give you a little funny looking, well, not sharp edge. And as is so often the case here in Southern California, even in March, the weather is cooperating and we can paint that stripe on there. I'm still, again, at the bottom range of what my paint calls for in temperature, but I'm much drier. The humidity is like 70s something percent, so not too bad. So I'll just allow a little extra drying time between coats. I'll probably go 20 minutes instead of 12 like I would in more room temp temperatures. Coat number 1. Nice and thin. One more thing I want to add into this video for this week. I know that I have spoken about my thought process on big tools, things that I refer to as having a large footprint in my garage. And I've said in the past I like to avoid large footprint tools that I'm not going to use too often. And there's another tool that I've been debating for quite some time that is definitely a large footprint tool, but that's the thing. I took my time with the decision. I've literally been thinking about this for 3-4 months, maybe longer if I'm really thinking about it. But I did think about this decision for a long time. I think that's a really good life lesson, is to not rush into a lot of things, even if the price is right, and especially if marketers are doing their thing and trying to somehow massage the perceived value of this thing in such a way that you throw aside, reason and rationale, to just make kind of a emotional purchase. I mean, marketers are doing that a lot. I studied marketing in school, so I don't like the fact that sometimes it gets practiced in that way. Not to go into what I think marketing is, but marketing should be an alignment of the value outputs of an organization with the needs of the marketplace and the needs of the customer. And the key there is aligning value and customer needs. A lot of times marketers feel like their job is to be spin doctors, to focus on a customer's wants or addictions or just pure emotion. A lot of decisions get made at the subconscious level purely based on emotion. So it's something, as we live in a modern world in a capitalistic society, and believe me, I believe capitalism has brought the world a lot of good things. Top of the list would be how many human beings are dying each day from war on the planet. A lot less than it used to be. Is there war? Yes. Are there people dying from fighting in wars? Yes. Total number of them? Way down. Capitalism. And believe me, there's plenty wrong with capitalism too. Environment. So the tool, back to the tool. What I got is a Harbor Freight motorcycle lift, the 1,000 pound, big motorcycle lift. And I will use this tool. This is something that when I'm done with this bike, well, I've got the V-Strom too, and there's plenty of times where I'd like to have that up where I can reach at things better. And so after deliberating for a long time, this is a tool I will use. I talked to a couple of personal colleagues and friends who I know are into motorcycles, who I know have a lot of experience. Both of them said, yeah, while Harbor Freight has a reputation for selling some cheap tools that don't work so well sometimes, this one actually is quite good, they said, And so far, I'm impressed. I think it's going to do the job for me just fine. You know, this isn't a commercial shop. This is my hobby. And I think it's going to be great. This is coat number 2. Does the garage seem a little smaller now? Yes, but look at that. So I think I'm going to enjoy this, and you know, the price is right, guys. Harbor Freight, thumbs up to them for offering something that works for us hobbyists at home. And frankly, one of the guys that I talked to before purchasing this thing had a custom shop and was, you know, had a commercial enterprise going and was using these things, and he said they were great. So I don't know, the wheel chock in the front, maybe that could be improved some, but I'm working with a light duty bike. They do have these eyelets or tie downs on the side so that you can strap the bike down and secure it. You know, if you use those, should be plenty secure. And 3. So the old finger test before peeling the tape off. Touch your finger in an area where it's tape, not your stripe. And if the paint does not stick to your finger with a light touch, and it just leaves a fingerprint, then that's probably a good time to remove your paint, or your tape, excuse me. Nice clean line. So that'll be it for this episode, ladies and germs. We've got that stripe on the gas tank continuing all the way up to the front. I'm pleased with how it came out. There are imperfections, and imperfections are okay. This is art, you know, this is not robots building motorcycles. And don't be so hard on yourself when you're doing your project if it isn't perfect. Too much perfection, yeah, I don't give that the big thumbs up. So thanks for watching, and we're gonna keep at this. What do we got to do here in the future? We need to sand the clear coat on the tank. We need to clear coat the cover, fuel cap cover, and catch up with that on the sanding. And then what I haven't shown here is I'm priming some of the frame parts, the triple tree and just some other little things. I'm also clear coating the Suzuki emblem that a couple episodes back we put color on for the background. So, you know, we're just going to keep moving along, you guys. I really appreciate you watching, and click the thumbs up if you like these videos, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Urban Monk TV.